I hate normal. Like, I literally hate normal. I think normal is so boring. And if you're trying to blend in, what are you doing?
In the UK, 1 in 5 people self-identify as having a facial difference. This is the story of a girl with the camera, passion, and perhaps a lot of naivety on a mission to meet some extraordinary people. Almost half of the facial difference community in the UK have experienced hostile behaviour. I'm Isabella and I grew up with a facial difference. So after hearing the statistic, I needed to find out more. I wondered if this was a global issue. I wanted to take the time to get to know the individuals of this community that we hear so little about. So I headed from my home in the UK to New York and then to LA to spotlight the lives of the visible difference community.
I grew up in a small town in New Jersey and it was only the same type of people, and now I go to Montclair and New Jersey and around this New York City obviously, and I can be who I want to be and people are not staring at you, which I love that. Hello, my name is Austin Halls. I am a model, musician, and a motivational speaker living with a rare syndrome called Mobius syndrome. Born with my face and my eyes paralyzed, so I had to have 4 surgeries just to be able to smile, and I cannot move my eyes left or right, and I can't close my eyes all the way, so my face and my eyes completely paralyzed. I feel like I had to really find other outlets to express myself, and I had to showcase, that I was a creative and a kind person, like people smile at strangers, and I wasn't able to do that for a while, so I had to have my smile surgeries, and I feel like I ran to fashion and art and music to really express myself, and I think my fashion and my expression is ever changing the older I get. I always have high top shoes. Whether it's sneakers, high top boots, it's always high top. I would describe myself as unserious. I would be telling myself that I am a funny person, hopefully, depending on the person, and a very creative and passionate person. One of my superpowers is making people feel able to be who they are around me. I think that's a really cool superpower. I never wanted people to feel the way that I felt growing up, and I never wanted people to feel alienated, so I just want to be myself and be authentic and have people have no judgment around me. I'm very lucky because I didn't really get bullied that much. It was the same 26 kids, kindergarten through 6th grade, and they knew about my disability. They didn't care about my disability. It was just Austin. But I always got people staring at me because of my facial difference. So, people questioned my intelligence. I had to fight, people with disabilities have to fight 10 times harder to just be in the door, open the door. And I just had to fight for what I have, and I never want anyone to feel alienated, judged, or any type of way that I felt in the past. Every time that I went to the grocery store or public, I had people talk to me like I'm a baby. I had to overcompensate in a lot of ways to be seen and heard just like how normal people do. Now, I'm a little pop dance superstar.
I don't think I'd call you a little one. I mean, where were you?
I was just at the Grammys, everyone does that, right? That's normal. My music has changed throughout my eras of my albums. I have 2 albums out now. My 3rd album is going to be all about dance. It's going to be empowerment. It's going to be about loving yourself. Negative stigmas and stereotypes with being disabled. People say oh, I'm disabled, and the automatic response is oh, I'm so sorry. And just queerness, just like blackness, just like with all the other minority groups and diversity groups, there's power to them, there's culture to them, there's history to them. So why are we saying sorry? It's another community that is just necessary to lean into. Last year has been one of the most craziest years of my life, and I never thought that I would be doing the things that I'm doing. I literally worked with Google. I am in the Recording Academy. I did New York Fashion Week. I've gone to Meta headquarters in San Francisco and New York City. I knew that all of my work was going to pay off from being, myself and being authentic on social media. Never would I thought that I'd be doing the things that I'm doing now. And yeah, I just feel the universe told me last year, just keep pushing. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I saw people with facial differences who are queer in movies and TV shows in the industry, I feel like I would be like, okay, I'm not weird, I'm not the only one, and I could have that community a little bit earlier than when I found it.
For me, Austin encapsulates everything this documentary is about. He stands out, he's proud, and he won't be silenced. Later on, I joined him and his group of friends at a charity runway event that showcased disabled models in the heart of Manhattan in a hospital. I'm so thrilled right now to be with Mindy, who is the founder of Runway of Dreams. Mindy, what has tonight meant for you?
It's been extraordinary, and this is our first time doing a show at a hospital as renowned as Mount Sinai, but really the purpose of us doing it here is because there's so many patients that are newly disabled, and we really wanted to show that life doesn't end if you have a disability. They came one way this morning and left a very different way, feeling empowered, feeling beautiful. And that's the magic of Runway of Dreams.
And that's something that has really touched me through the show tonight, was just the sense of community that you've built and the empowerment and how people are leaving feeling so much better than they walked in. Why is that so important for you to encapsulate in a night like this?
Well, I have the great benefit of experiencing this from a personal and professional perspective because my son, who's now 20, was born with a rare form of muscular dystrophy. And Oliver really didn't want to dress disabled. He felt that he wanted to show up to the world how he wanted to dress, but there was no options for people with disabilities, which is why I started Runway of Dreams in 2013 to really educate and work with the fashion industry to understand that people with disabilities are a part of our mainstream world and care about how they look. And if you look good, you feel good. And in 2013, there were zero mainstream brands in the adaptive space. Now we have upwards of 16, ranging from Victoria's Secret to Tommy Hilfiger, real mainstream important brands that are understanding that including people with disabilities is not only the right thing to do, but it's a business opportunity. 1.3 billion people on our planet identify with having a disability.
Such a prestigious event.
Fortunately, I come from the fashion industry, so I knew that if you really wanted to make waves, you have to be a part of New York Fashion Week. And so in 2016, we hosted our first show, and we probably had about 25 models in the show. As we're gearing up for our show this year in September, we will have upwards of 60 models. It's the future. The future is now, and it includes people with disabilities.
Having spoken to both Mindy and Austin, it's clear how much fashion is used as a form of self-expression for those in the community. So next, I wanted to hear from someone on the other side of the lens.
My name is Justin Stewart, and I'm from New York.
He's a model, basketball coach, and an amazing advocate for the visible difference community.
The name of my facial difference is frontal nasal dysplasia, which I had since birth. I've had 2 surgeries, one at 6 months and one at 13 years old. I feel like the most interesting thing about me is that I'm like so complex. Like I feel like there's so many like different layers to who I am and to what I can become, and I'm still just like scratching the surface of all of it. It's weird. Like I feel like basketball has been a part of my life for so long. Like my father introduced me to the game, and it took me some time to grow into it, but I've been in love with it for a while, for a lot of my life. And I feel like modeling and being an advocate is something that I kind of found on my own, so it means a little bit more to me in that way. It was kind of just me being on social media, like literally yearning for that sense of community, and I was just sharing my story, and then from then on, like I was able to connect with people that understood and could relate, and that's how I kind of grew from there. It helped me realize that like I'm not the only one out there dealing with these kinds of things, and it also made me realize that there's another side to it. Like there are career paths that I could explore that would also make me happy as well. Like I just finished coaching basketball for a full season this year. Like our season literally just ended last week, so I'm kind of just getting out of the flow of that and just being around just the youth and just trying to be like a sense of encouragement and light for them through a long season. A season can be grueling. Like you're on the road, you're traveling. They're going through their own personal issues, so just kind of just trying to be like that voice of reason or like a sense of inspiration for them was pretty big this year. The highlight of my season, I would say making it to the playoffs and winning that first round game was pretty special. The generations before me and a little bit of my generation as well, like we really didn't have that like sense of voice. Like I feel like when I was growing up, I know in my household, it was more so like you respect your elders, you stay quiet, you stay in a child's place. Like in this day and age, these kids like don't care. They have their opinions. They feel very strongly about it. And for some of it, they're right, you know? And I think we need to hear what they have to say because they have a lot to say and it's important. We've made some really big steps as far as like me being in the industry. Like I've seen a lot of steps moving forward, but I feel like there's so much more that we can do. And I feel like there are a lot of people that deserve to be seen that are not, you know? So I feel like if the youth continues to do their job, continues to do what they've been doing, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. When I was growing up, there was no way I could be in an industry like this. Like I feel like I came in at like such a perfect time. Like you got the plus size movement, Black Lives Matter, like all these things were on the rise. And I feel like my community was a part of that. And I'm just forever thankful. I mean, like me and my friends talk about this all the time. And I feel like it's such a hot take. Like I feel like our community wouldn't be here without the plus size community. Like I feel like they really started this entire thing. I feel like before I was just like a really just insecure, shy kid. Like, again, not even because of my facial difference, but at that time, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. Like I really didn't have any passions or like joys or just things that I held like really close. Or like I didn't know what I wanted to do or who I was gonna be, but I knew I was gonna do something because of just everything that I experienced. I knew it wasn't for no reason. So like the main thing that kind of kept me to like push through was like, there was just this inkling inside of me that was like you are gonna be somebody, like you are gonna be doing something. Like I don't know what that is, but I knew it was something. So I would just say like, just to continue to stay the course and stay patient, and like your time will come, and you just have to be ready. Like continue to stay ready and be prepared. As far as my parents were concerned, like outside of my facial difference, they raised me a certain way to be prepared for all the things that life have to offer, good and bad. Like even with the facial difference, like they're like it's rough. It's really rough. And I think the way my parents raised me, they raised me to not make excuses, and to not use my difference as a crutch, you know? I was raised to believe that I could do anything anybody could do, if not better.
Throughout this process, the same topics kept reoccurring, so I began to ask everyone a few of the same questions, just to see how shared these lived experiences were.
They're not alone. There's plenty of people out there that would love to get to know you because you have something that will enrich their life. You have to believe it.
You are gonna be fine. You don't need to worry about nothing. Just lean into what makes you different. Lean into your different identities and just really lean into that, because that is gonna be your superpower.
Keep putting yourself out there.
You know, they say the eyes are the window to the soul, right? And so I always say, immediately make eye contact. Don't let somebody shy you away from them. Look back and smile. Be proud of who you are. Don't let them push you aside.
And every little thing is a victory.
There's no path, there's no checklist of how to do things, there's no rule book, I wish there was. There's no instruction manual, there's do it. Just know in your heart that that's who you are, and go do it.
So much beauty on the other side, and a whole community that is waiting for you.
Just stay the course.
You're gonna be able to do all the things you want to do. It's not gonna hold you back.
Be yourself. The sooner you can be yourself, the sooner you're gonna accept yourself.
Knowing that it's not just your fault in the simplest way. Like someone's making fun of you, it's not your fault. You know?
The universe tests you to see if you're ready for different things, and you know, like I feel like doing your fashion week and performing on stages and like, you know, sharing your voice and your message and having people resonate with that is just such a example of like, you're exactly in the right spaces.
One of my main reasons for coming to New York was for this particular person. I connected some time ago with Selena online after seeing her portraits. She is the common link between almost everyone in this documentary, whether she has painted them or they have attended one of her events. When I saw Selena here, she was preparing for her upcoming gallery show, and I'd come from the UK, there was another girl coming from the UK, so people were travelling across the world just for her show. It's fair to say the pressure was on.
I did I started out on these are not finished ones. During the pandemic, I kind of was at home thinking about what would be a cool art project to work on, and I always had this idea that I should do something about my birthmark and make it meaningful and tell my story. I started this project finding people online that I knew through different support groups and then starting doing their portraits. Painting is very calming and gives your mind something to focus on. To kind of quiet your thoughts. I hope that people see that there's nothing to be scared of or uncomfortable with any kind of facial difference, and seeing the beauty in birthmarks and differences and their story behind it, and how strong and resilient these people are in a society that doesn't understand or celebrate differences. So you become resilient and interesting from that. I didn't have that confidence from the jump growing up. I've had to learn it, and it's still something that can bother me, my birthmark, or I want to be the one to show my birthmark on my own terms, then and have someone talk to me about it, and then when I'm at work when I don't want to be thinking about that, and have those conversations. So maybe in the future I'll feel more confident. Paid, it costs money, so it's amazing. She's everywhere. But then on comments on when it was being posted, there's still people being oh, did she get beat up or bruised or something? So those sort of comments are still what people think. But it was a little bit is that really what people think? And those are kind of just negative thoughts, because I know objectively that it doesn't matter what people think, and they can think what they want. People are allowed to think. It's when they verbalize it or attack you, then that feels wrong. Because I think having a facial difference can be isolating, because so many people don't. It's and it's not you don't a lot of people aren't born in a community where everyone has the same difference. Paige came to my event last time, and now she's going to be doing something for my face, and and then Jacqueline, who's over there, she became friends with Annie through the meetup. So nice. It's people become better friends with each other. Yeah, I was on Fox and Pix 11, so that was really cool. No, I felt good, kind of feeling it was newsworthy and interesting, and also that the news cares about something like this. Many people, I brought my students to my art show, and they could relate to it, because even though they don't have a facial difference like mine, especially teenagers, they're very they can be very insecure about their way they look. So they could relate to feeling not accepted. Use your voice, and if something bothers you, speak up and say it. I think I would kind of internalize everything and just be very quiet. Yeah. So as an adult, I've worked on that, advocating for myself and speaking up if something feels wrong. So if I could have started that younger, it would have been, I feel better. I mean, my parents weren't mean. They would always be you're beautiful, no matter what, you can wear makeup if you want or not, but it's doing more than more deep, in-depth conversations than you're beautiful, but but I'll help you to try to hide it with makeup and stuff, and having, it doesn't work all the way. The laser treatments that you have don't make it go away for me. So everything I do, it won't go away. So it's just frustrating, and I have to just accept it and be it's going to be there. So I had 2 surgeries on my lip to make it straight, because my birthmark is more on this one side, and it's frustrating because I did the surgeries and then it grew back. And they told us that from the jump, that because it's linked to your hormones, it will grow back. So then it grows back and it's like another surgery, and the surgeries are like so intense and like take forever to heal because it's like chopping out parts of your lip. So I guess it's just the frustration that like no matter what you do, and then you could kind of like, because you're trying to fix it so much, it can like end up looking worse and you get scars from that. Like I have a scar here from it. So it's kind of like maybe if I just accepted it from the jump, then like it would have been fine. I don't know. It's just hard because it's not like something like where you're sick, like you take some medicine and then you're not sick anymore.
One of Selena's close friends, Lorena, had just moved to New York when I met her, so we checked in to see how she was getting on.
You can, they might be in a hurry, but they're kind if you stop and like talk, and it's the sense of belonging and not looking around and being like, I look completely different than everybody. I've never had that feeling where I just feel at home and welcome. And it's my absolute most favorite part. It's incredible. I mean, even the neighborhood I live in, it's beautiful. New Yorkers are kind. Yes, so when I was a baby, I had a hemangioma, which is a type of it's a birthmark, and it's actually a benign tumor, bursting of blood vessels. And so typically these will involute and don't really cause much problems. Mine, though, however, was very large. I felt like because I looked so different that I had to, I think, overcompensate in other ways. And so I became a huge people pleaser. I felt like I needed to do everything for everyone in order for them to like me, that, you know, the way I looked on my own merit wasn't good enough. I became obsessed with just the way I looked too, and just constantly beating myself up. And then I also feel like I developed a very outgoing personality to hide a lot of the pain and just scared feelings I had inside. And so I think a lot of my personality is based on a lot of those experiences I had as a young woman growing up. And I'm really just now feeling peace, feeling present, but it's taken just the hard work, the sucky parts, the journaling, the taking breaks from drinking, the reading lots of books, going to therapy again. Even moving here to New York City, I had no idea that there was such a big community within like the facial difference community and birthmark community and all of that. And so once I found one person who was connected, I then started like looking and finding more things and realized there's actually a huge community here. It's how I got connected with you too. Like Selena is kind of like my one person. She's now introduced me to so many people. It's like I've identified myself now as just learning to live in my like truth and my like authenticity, and just very much still in my healing journey, but also now living present. Living in the moment is something I did not do my entire life. I was always catastrophizing, or what's going to happen, or what's this, or what are they thinking about me, or how do they feel about me, how do they like me, this or that. I was always just anticipating everything, trying to control situations and reactions that I have no business trying to control. It's not mine to own. And so now I'm learning to I'm just going to be present. I want to be where my feet are. I want to enjoy where I'm at, and I also want to be honest with myself and the people around me. And the more I do that, I think the more settled in me, my life, this new city, I become. I think I just hope for a day when we can bring this up more, talk about it more, bring more awareness, and we all learn to just appreciate the things that do separate us and make us different, because that is what makes us uniquely us.
Today, we're actually heading to the MyFace offices. It's really, really exciting so that we can speak directly to the people at the heart of the cause here in New York, really building that community together to see what they are doing to help people with visible differences.
Everyone has a story. Everyone has an experience that we can learn from. My name is Bill Villafranco. I'm the executive director at MyFace. MyFace is an organization that is all about empowerment. It's giving the voice to those that feel like they don't have one. It's giving them a community of which they didn't think existed. And it's giving hope. I hope that more and more young ambassadors will step out into our community so that we can spread the word about the work that we're doing at MyFace. I actually started off as someone donating money to this organization. And as I got to learn the work that they were doing, I fell in love with it. I was asked to be on the board, and I was on the board for 10 years. And they asked me to become board chair. And I chaired the board for 3 years. And when our executive director retired a year ago now, they asked me if I wouldn't mind stepping in on an interim basis. So I resigned as board chair, and I stepped in as the executive director, thinking it was a short-term tenure. It turns out that I love this work because I'm now inside the work. Sitting as board chair, you sit above and you can look down. As executive director, I get to sit inside and see what actually is happening. So for me, it's been an amazing 12, 13 years. And where I sit right now is where I hope I can be for a very long time.
We spoke earlier a little bit about your children filming Austin, which is such a great story. How did that feel for you as a parent, seeing the difference that you taking an active role with this organisation?
It's electrifying to see my 7-year-old daughter grab my wife's phone and video Austin Hall's singing with no preconceived notion about Austin's conditions, Austin's past. He was just Austin. And to see that through the eyes of a 7-year-old is really powerful.
Do you almost have more hope perhaps than for the younger generation of 7-year-olds versus perhaps adults today?
I do, but it's going to really depend on these ambassadors stepping forward, giving the trust to others that they're going to view them as people. We're now in Chicago. We're hoping to have an ambassador join Rena Rosen in Chicago, and we're calling others to step out and be part of what we're doing. My goal would be to have an ambassador in every state.
When I walked in, that someone had just walked off the street, I think, who has recently acquired a facial difference. How does it feel to you to meet people right at this crucial time of their journey?
Her story, her dad's love for her was so visible, and her complete understanding of where she is and what she's doing in her journey. And then to see the ambassadors and the other employees of My Face come out and greet her, it was electrifying to see that. And I know I use that word a lot because I can't think of any other word. I use the word magic. There's magic that's happening here. And to be able to see what's happening now and what we're able to create here by just giving people the space to bring ideas to the table. I don't have the lived experience. I have resources by the grace of others and of our board that have given me freedom, but I'm listening intently.
Why is that so important to you, for you to be such an integral part of this community?
On a personal note, I lost a child, and I know what isolation feels like, and many of it's self-isolation. But I also know the immense joy that I received when I met others who had also lost a child. So although it's not the same, it could be thought of as the same, because isolation is isolation. Mm-hmm. And to see these young kids, these adults, these grown people come out and talk about their lived experience, how can you not feel happiness inside that we are helping them from that isolation that they were feeling, be part of a growing community? Think about many of these, the people in this population, this community, they've had multiple surgeries. And the one they trust the most is probably their doctor. But after a period of time, their surgeries end, maybe for the rest of their lives, maybe for a period of time until they need to have surgeries later in life. So the one they trusted the most is no longer in their life. We want people to learn to trust for the duration of their life. We want them to understand that we're here for you.
I felt so touched by Bill's passion and vulnerability during our conversation. I think it's a true reflection of the culture at My Face, that at the heart of all of their work, they are here to boost their community. And I don't think there's a greater example of their work than the wonderful chaos of these three friends. Aaliyah, Austin, and Naomi.
You got us connected.
No.
Who got us connected?
No, I connect, girl.
Okay.
We really met at Naomi's show. We got to all hang out, and you know, it's really special to have people with the same kind of disability, but there's a lot of people that do not fit your personality, do not fit your vibe, and the fact that we live literally so close to each other, and we just are the same vibe, we're doing the same things, but we're entirely different in the way that we advocate. It's just such a powerful trio.
One of the many things that make our friendship very special. We really know how to help each other elevate and encourage each other. We really became friends during a very dark time for me. I was going for a breakup, which like, whatever, boo-hoo, but they were really really there for me. Anything we could do to support each other, I know, like, they would drop anything.
Where do you think that's come from with you guys? Because I feel like so many people, unfortunately, when they're in the same space, you get that competitiveness.
We were just
How have
talking
you
about
guys
that.
navigated past that?
I don't feel any level of competition with them. I'm of the belief that everything that is meant for me will be given to me, and that there's enough room for everybody and everyone has something to contribute.
Being disabled in any space, you're fighting 10 times harder just to get that foot in the door. So like, I think a lot of people are in survival mode of like, I just need this, I just want this for me. And like, we do very different things in advocacy. Like, you do your makeup, you do your modeling. We see the potential in each other. And that's why it's so beautiful, because like, when I know Naomi, you haven't been posting, or Aaliyah, you haven't been posting in a couple of days. I'm going into these rooms. I know that my energy will be seen, but I'm like, well, have you heard of Aaliyah? Or have you heard of Naomi? And like, it really is just like, when you open the door for other people, like, that's the true joy. Like, seeing my girls shine, like, that makes me the happiest. We're able to see how hard it is having a facial difference, not being able to hide it, not able to, like, that's the first thing people see of us, and we are the only ones that understand that having a facial difference. So we understand the struggle, and we understand how hard we have to fight, but we are truly just love, and it's just, like, so powerful.
I didn't really have great friendships, and I didn't really get along with anyone. I was very to myself, very shy, didn't really want to speak to anyone. And this right here is so important to me. There's no competition here because I'm finally able to be myself around a group of other people that can relate to me. It's the biggest blessing to have this type of connection. Yeah. We are inspiring more than just the youth, adults, different communities, minorities, people who've been marginalized, to just stay in one box. Like this girl right here, Naomi, she is so talented, and that's her gift, including her facial difference. And we're all, like I said, we all are born to stand out in our own ways. Visible difference, invisible difference, we all have a gift. And in this world, it's our mission to find it and to live through it and just be it. I see a part of myself in each of them. 100%. And they help me evolve and reinvent myself in different creative spaces. If I didn't see Austin on stage, which he's going to perform in Madison Square Garden pretty soon, I'm saying 2026, 2027. But there's no hate I can ever be jealous of because it's like we're all just doing different things, different ways.
There's no competition. I want you to win too. That's
what I'm saying. We're all winning.
And another thing, no. I'm so sorry. I love it.
To do that.
Even normal people feel self-conscious and will talk negative to themselves, but when I'm with you guys, I'm reminded because I see so much of myself in you guys and your life experiences and how you care and love for other people. I will pause. I'll be like, okay, for example, a negative thought is I'll never have someone that loves me because of the way I look. And then I sit there and I'm like, okay, when I say that to Aaliyah, when I say that to Austin, odds are no. I would never say something so vile because it's just not true, and it helps me reframe my perspective and be kinder to myself. And I think that's the power of real love, but it's also the power of community and understanding.
Disabled and sexy, those are not things that we see in the media. Disabled and community, disabled and silly and goofy, and it's so fun to make little videos, and we just think of it as let's hang out, let's do a bunch of videos, let's just be silly together, but because
we would do it anyway.
And knowing that people don't have this, people don't have authentic friendships with or without a disability, and how grateful and blessed I am in my life to have people I can just call up at any time that understand what it's really like to have a facial difference. If I saw people like me in that social media kind of context, if I saw 3 other people that were doing what we're doing, it would give me so much hope.
For me, I did my life for so many years. Oh my goodness, guys. the worst thing ever. And I let so many people walk over me, let them say so many different narratives on me. And that killed my shine, that killed my sparkle. When I finally was able to, accept myself and love my flaws, I was able to receive the love I've always wanted. I received this amazing, beautiful friendship. I received opportunity in spaces that I never thought I could ever fit in. And as a Black woman with a facial difference, it's just so, I don't know why I'm shaking right now because this is so crazy. I'm really processing everything that I have done and the connections I'm making, especially with you, Isabella, for you to document this whole beautiful series. This is something I never thought would ever be possible. But we need to start spreading more awareness on being our authentic self and loving all of our identities. And for me to finally say, I love my face, I love who I am, I love being Black, and I love sharing that with the world. It's so amazing.
That's so interesting. It's these questions, I want to say something really smart.
Oh no.
There's definitely obviously something special about having that in person and having an actual second family.
Have a pure heart, an open mind, and gives people a chance. You never know. You really never know.
You will find people that love you and support you and see beauty in yourself that you never thought you would see in yourself.
Said 10 years from now, looking back, this would be really cool to see where everybody's at, what they're doing. We'll all still be in contact. Me and you also. So this is cool.
And realize you are not alone. Somebody else has experienced something similar, obviously not identical to what you've gone through, but you just feel that support of being able to share with one another your lived experiences.
You see that you're not the only one, it's more simple, right? It's okay, they went through that, I'm not that.
You hear the horror stories of how their own families have shunned them, their own communities have disregarded them. When you hear that, you don't think that that's a thing until somebody tells you their story of bringing survivors together in a loving, supporting, non-judgmental space where it's a safe space of healing.
Service is an amazing thing to do, no matter where you do it, to be of service to anyone, to your friend, to the stranger down the street. Smiling at a stranger could do so much. So it's where do you give back? Where do you give service? And that brings community and joy in ways you can't even...
There's community all around.
The young ambassadors have mentioned what has changed with my face in the last year. If you could summarise exactly what this has meant for you in the last year in just 2 words, what would those be?
Life-changing.
After spending such wonderful time with My Face and their young ambassadors, I wanted to explore what living with a facial difference has meant for previous generations. Is all this positivity new? And what do the rest of the community think about it?
The new generation look at vitiligo as art, beauty, uniqueness, but the older generation will look at vitiligo as something that they still healing from. The acceptance of the world as it's changing on accepting and embracing differences, uniqueness, and a lot of people are still healing within. I'm James McLeod, aka That Vitiligo Guy. I got a lot of different AKAs, but we're getting to that. What I'm most passionate about in the world is really changing the narrative of how others see themselves. So I try to lead by example by using myself as an example. I have a skin condition called vitiligo, and if you're not familiar with it, it's an autoimmune condition / disease that causes loss of the pigmentation of the skin. So I use my visual difference to make a difference in the world. And my mother, I give her some credit too as well, because when I first developed vitiligo, it was at the age of 18 months old as a child. And growing up, vitiligo wasn't even talked about. The only conversations was around Michael Jackson, and there was no real awareness. But I think that my mother never told me I was different. She always told me that I was special, I was unique, I was one of a kind, I was God's child. But I didn't really understand that at such an early age. And I had to embrace the struggle, and I had to embrace the questions, because when I step out the door, society would ask me what happened to me every single day. Probably at the age of 7. There was days I would look in the mirror and I would duck away and try not to look. And you know, because society would point and stare, but at home it was like full of love. And I remember, you know, one day I would look in the mirror and I would say to myself the opposite what kids would say to me, because I used to be made fun of and teased and bullied in a way where it was just more verbal. You look like a cow, who erased the other side of your face. It was even blurs like moo and stuff like that. And I remember just really challenging myself one day, and the first time just looking in the mirror and not ducking away and just saying the opposite, saying I'm not a cow, I'm not a zebra, no one never erased the other side of my face. And I think that was the first approach of stepping into affirmations, not even realizing that. But there was a day I went to school with one of the biggest smiles on my face. And I smiled a lot at home, but sometimes in school I would just shut out. And I remember stepping in the cafeteria, sitting with my classmate at the lunch table, and there was always this one classmate who will always make fun of me every single day, no matter what. And I didn't understand why he would do that. But this time I had the biggest smile on my face, and I sat at that lunch table, and that same classmate said to me, "Man, why are you so happy today?" And he said, "I don't have anything mean to say to you." So I continued to smile. In my head, you know, I was like, wow, I didn't say nothing. And in that moment, we got up from that lunch table. We go back into our formal line to go back to our classroom. I get a tap on my shoulder. And when I turned around, I'm like, why are you tapping me? It was the same classmate who made fun of me every single day. He said, "Thank you." And I'm like, why are you thanking me? He said, "No one never smiled at me the way you smiled at me." See, that classmate, he was getting bullied at home every single day. And that's all he knew. So I was just an easy target. And to me, I said, wow, that simple smile not only changed his life, but it changed my life for the rest of my life. Really excited that day, and I went home and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go smile at random strangers, and hopefully they smile back at me, and they did just that. So since a little boy and to this day, I go around and count how many smiles I can get for the day.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What have you done so far today?
I got maybe like 5, and plus you now 6. Started to DJ at the age of 11, and it was a way of bringing awareness towards the way I look. Instead of people saying, what happened to you, I embraced it. Growing up, my favorite kind of music was really like dancehall, R&B, hip-hop. But now I play all genres of music, from Afrobeat to reggaeton, merengue, bachata, hip-hop, R&B, grupa, soulful house, et cetera, bringing people together, right? So it's like I put my message out there, but I'm able to play music that's so universal to bring people together. If it's just dancing, laughing, having a good time. Started to public speak about 7 to 6 years ago, and I had a message that I was just going to the schools with, and I'm like, you know what? I have more to my message. And the schools wasn't really receptive bringing me in. I wanted to write a book, The Boy Behind the Face, and maybe I can get into more schools. But I just really wanted to bring more awareness towards vitiligo. I didn't have books like The Boy Behind the Face or My Daily Superpower, so I thought it was a great way of really introducing the kiddos to diversity, inclusivity, but more importantly, bring togetherness and welcomeness. I said, hey, I can't change your heart. Can't change your mind, but do me a favor, look deeply at me, but only on this side. And when you do, find your shade of skin tone, and just know that we are all the same. So once I when I grab that connection, they're like, wow, he is right. It's just like, you're no different than me. It's all about what's in the heart and what's on the mind. I wanted to write something where most people could identify with. There are a lot of people who are struggling, who are dealing with how they see themselves. They feel like they're not enough. They don't feel worthy enough. It's because society, what they project. And a lot of people lack self-love. So I just wrote it around where most people can identify. Most people can't identify with vitiligo. Not everybody's living with vitiligo. So I said, you know what? I want to write something for everyone. With community, I see it's still it's a struggle with community still, especially in the vitiligo community. What I do now is try to educate community instead of saying, wow, look at me, I'm unique, I'm different, because I just know there's a place within the community that there's someone hiding in the dark who don't really see themselves, who's really struggling and trying to find ways to cope. And there's maybe 77 million people worldwide who's living with this condition. And it's one of them things, 85% of the community are looking for a cure. There's a lot of peer pressure on how others see themselves. There's a lot of advertisement. There's a lot of people on social media comparing themselves. There's a lot of people not really embracing truly who they are. You can get through anything in that process. You have to take that step. No one's not going to hold your hand and do it for you. You have to tap into that. If I'm like this, it don't really matter. My greatest gift is not my physical appearance. It's how I see myself.
I found James's insight fascinating. As I was mulling it over, I got a call from a new friend who wanted to discuss some of the ideas that we'd shared further.
Hi guys, I'm Aaliyah Booker, and I was born with a facial difference called Golden Heart Syndrome. And within that, I had a bunch of surgeries, a lot of rehabilitation, but as I mentioned to everyone, it never stopped me from achieving any of my goals. My goals and aspirations in life is to push past all limitations, to show that, we are more than just our differences, and that we are capable of doing the impossible. And I express that through my story, through everything I do, and through all my speaking engagements. I despise going into the hospital. I couldn't even bear to even talk to my surgeons or to anyone. And they were so nice too. Yeah. Of course, they're so nice, but every time I stepped foot, I had to face reality. I had to face that I did have a facial difference. I had to face that I was different. I remember for every team visit or every hospital visit, the doctors would just look past through me and just speak to my parents. It felt like I was invisible. They didn't care about anything I had to say or any thoughts or anything. They would just literally just talk to my parents. You're talking about doing all this stuff to me. You're talking about, doing the surgery, but you're not actually including me in this conversation. And for me to now being, my authentic self, walking into the rooms, owning it, and just showing my doctors and other doctors that I made it. I'm able to make a great impression, not only for my community, but to show them that resilience is here. Resilience was instilled in me through so much. The amount of times I've been in so many spaces that I never thought I could even imagine, and the way people gravitate towards me is so crazy, because I'm like, you want to talk to this silly? Authenticity leads to greater things. Authenticity creates change. Authenticity brings out the beauty in you. It brings out the beauty in everyone. Step into your power. Lean into your power.
I'd found it interesting that Aaliyah had wanted to delve more into her medical past. It's something that clearly affects the majority of the community, but equally I couldn't quite believe how quickly time had passed, and that Selena's art show was happening in Brooklyn.
Great. I mean, it's like all old friends, even though Craig is here. He's from Chicago. I've never actually met him in person before, but I painted him and we talked on Instagram, and then he came to the show. So it's amazing. I hope that they make friends with people in the community and they get to know each other, and it's just a fun time. I'm so happy. I love seeing everyone that I've painted, and it's great.
I'll call her while we're talking, because I think that might be.
Is this your partner?
This is who I met through Selena. Yes. I am Craig Taylor. I live in Chicago, and my facial difference is that I have a port wine stain birthmark. Growing up, when you exist with a port wine stain birthmark, you don't always realize that there's other people out there. And because of her, I met the person I refer to as my birthmark twin, which is Daniele, who lives in Brazil. And I just got back from visiting her in Brazil, and it was the most amazing experience in the world. Our joke is that we lived separate lives previously, but it was together, and now we're discovering each other in this life. And she definitely is my soulmate. And when we were in Brazil, people would see us walking, holding hands, and they would look at her or they would look at me first, and then they would go over to her or to me, and they'd be like, and then they realized that we both looked the same. And especially little kids were really funny, because it was like watching a tennis match. They'd be like back and forth. And it was just so innocent and so nice. And it's all because of Selena.
And how do you feel when you walk in that room and you see pictures of everybody?
Just wonderful. Just so wonderful. Just seeing these people that look like me or have similar facial differences or don't have similar facial differences, that have the same experiences that I had growing up probably, and just seeing how cool they are, how much swag they still have. I mean, it's this, you can still have swag and have a facial difference. And then I have people meet me sometimes that go, oh, wait a minute, what happened to your face? I'm like, it's my birthmark. It's been there the whole time. But you're not your birthmark, you're your person. And birthmark is just part of you being your person. Hey, baby.
Hi.
She's interviewing me about you.
Hi.
I love you. Ti amo, baby.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
I'm Billy Leroy, Selena's dad. Oh man, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. It's incredible, and the body of work is really cool. I mean, it's just good. She came to me and she said, "I'm having an art show. Can I use your store?" And I said, "Sure." Party. It's like a lot of these people, you know, it's extreme, and they're human. It's human. You know, they're great. They're really unique, actually, because I'm into, you know, people that are different, but when you meet them and you don't know them, it really affects you in a really profound way. You have to stick by your kid 100%. If you don't, I mean, if like, for example, I was like a dad that wanted to hide her or something, that would be the worst thing. The thing is, you just got to stick by them 1,000%.
Like, it took me 36 years to have that moment to sit there in a room and just be like, we're all beautiful even though we're different, and other people look like me too, and I'm not alone. There's other people out here too, and I can't thank her enough for giving me and everyone else that moment.
It was the perfect way to end my time in New York, gathered with the community that I'd grown so close to. I swapped to chilly New York for a sunny LA, and I wondered whether I'd experience the same sense of community, or whether La La Land would be focused on perfection. How did those in the heart of Hollywood feel about the lack of media representation? My first stop was Paige, based near Palm Springs.
Oh my god, it's amazing. Actually, so I will show you the PR too. Inside is my face. My name is Paige Loren Billiot, and I have a port wine stain birthmark on half of my face, neck, head, and ear. When I first moved out to LA, it was definitely to be on both sides of the camera. That was always kind of the dream. When I first realized that, like, being in front of the camera and acting, that you could pretend to be other people, I think I was around 8. Because, you know, at the time I wasn't comfortable with who I was and what I looked like. Thinking about acting and pretending to be anyone but myself was incredibly desirable. But then as I got more into like watching behind the scenes and bloopers, I was like, oh, creating storytelling itself is also really, really fun. It was 2 years of really trying to be aggressive on the acting side and going to auditions, getting my headshots. Now granted, I was still covering, like, my headshots covered my birthmark. But then when I would go to auditions, you know, at that point I was more comfortable in kind of who I was, and was starting to enjoy more of like standing out in the crowd of an audition room. Like, oh, of course they're gonna remember me, for good or for worse. Yeah. You know, they're gonna remember me. They're gonna remember the girl with the birthmark in the audition room. So I did that for 2 years, and it was a struggle. After just consistently being told of just, you know, we don't know where to put you, and you're too distracting in the back and the front, and you know, just kind of getting judged before sometimes even seeing how bad my acting might be. But thankfully I was able to scratch that itch a little bit with the projects I was working behind the scenes. I would have, like, you know, a small one-line role, nothing that showed my birthmark. And it was just a combo of myself not really feeling empowered and bold enough to be like, hey, I appreciate you wanting to throw this like little mini role to me, but I need my, like, this is me. Plus, you know, those individuals who have invited me to be like in those small roles, it wasn't a conversation of like, we wanted to be also authentically you. So with a lot of frustration and emotion, I couldn't make a film overnight, but I was like, I can take a photo. And I started the Instagram, and I was like, I'm just gonna have it be the highlight, the focus. We're never told that that is an option, you know? So from as you're a baby to still as an adult, I get people that still come up to me and say they have some kind of fix. Like, again, like that the model is still that being different is something to fix. It was such a moment of being like, oh my God, like, yeah, of course you can like highlight it, you know, you don't have to cover it up or just, you know, let it be. Like, you can actually do something with it that's really powerful. And during that process, I was creating these photo shoots where there was these fun themes, and we were highlighting it with makeup and special effects and visual effects and graphic design. I think one of my first photos was like an overlay of space. Like, I'm kind of digging this. Like, this is actually a really fun way to start to look at perspectives, you know, just anything but pity or judgment in a negative way or fear. Like a UK news agency that actually reached out to me and they wanted to do a story, and I was like, oh, of course. And because it's an agency, they like put out the story and then a bunch of different outlets will pick it up if they're into it. And a lot of people did, which was really fun. It was like a total global, it was like we were in 17, we were in Glamour, we were in Women's Health, like Cosmo. We did some videos with Pop Sugar and BuzzFeed, and it just started this, I think, completely new chapter in my life of actually starting to be the representation that you always wanted to see. I remember walking into stores like that, being younger, and maybe having moments of like, wow, all of these are so flawless. I remember recognizing that and having a moment of like, yeah, I wonder if there's going to be anybody that kind of looks like me in these stores.
And now you are.
And now I am, which is so cool. Well, what's actually been even more incredible is the photos that I get from people or the comments that I'll see on like It Cosmetics page. Other people posting their photos of them talking about how much of a moment it is for them being represented. Like this community really is incredible, which I had no idea we had one until I started social media. We really shouldn't be having people
just finding it.
Yeah, still feeling alienated in their difference, I think, whatever it is. Even when you kind of sometimes see someone who, like if you someone with a birthmark at a grocery store, a lot of the members in our community don't go up and say hi, because it's still kind of like we don't really want to acknowledge it, that this is something that I have and have to deal with. Not all of us are like that. Some of us are like, oh my God, Birthmark Club, what's up? Since we've been doing these meetups, they've been nothing but absolutely incredible and healing. You want to protect your family, you want to celebrate them and love them and just show how much they're appreciated and how much they're valued. And then you get that in return. So I have the best support system with my family and my friends, like absolutely incredible. I still had a hard time relating. And you go most of your life barely seeing anyone with a birthmark, port wine, and let alone like on their face or half of their face. So you really start to feel alienated. And then like, that really does something to your psychology. I believe it was 2023. Edie Vaughn, who's the beautiful musician, her mom hosted at their gallery. Up to 20 people showed up at some point. We were there for like 7 hours. We had a little photo booth to be able to take photos and have some fun. And we had like, some stuff if they wanted to highlight and whatnot. But, we were just all just talking and playing some music. It was overwhelming with emotions. It's a feeling like nothing else. It's kind of hard. It's really hard to describe because it's a feeling that you feel so void in for so long. And even that is kind of hard to explain with feeling alienated, and then being able to actually like go into a room with other people. It's just, I don't know. It's like you feel home. When I got home, finally, all of the emotions started to kind of like come in, and it was a really good cry. And of course, seeing your portraits on a gallery or any wall is like absolutely incredible. Like that's so much of the representation that I want to see more and more of. So again, so proud of Selena for leading that. The real honest dream is that I don't have a job anymore. That's the honest hope, is that this isn't a conversation and a fight anymore. You just see diversity and a lot of your media and your fashion beauty industries and your book industries and the world, just like the world itself is incredibly diverse. You actually just get to see what the world looks like represented. I've been working on a slate of kind of feature films and TV series for, where a lot of roles in front and behind the camera will be for physically different and disabled individuals. And we're working on Birthmark Barbie. Hopefully that will be a case with Mattel. It's a pitch that we've made and conversation that we're continuing to get more aggressive with. Even really anything specific, because I just want to see representation. Like I'm just so desperate for the representation where it's such a generalized dream of, I just want to see us as the romantic leads, you know, I want to see us as the superheroes, I want to see us as, that's a paid actor, by the way. I mean, everything is the dream role. But yeah, I think like an action superhero is kind of like a comedic, is definitely kind of my vibe.
10-year-old Paige, what do you think she'd think of your life?
I would think she'd be a big fan. I think she would look at my studio and get the zoomies, and I think she would want to spend all day in here. I think if she saw my Instagram, she would be so incredibly inspired and empowered, and I feel like she would have explored highlighting her birthmark even in school. I mean, honestly, the highlighting the birthmark has been so incredibly healing. Being someone being like, oh my God, like that video was so helpful. Like, I'm like, oh my God, healed. You know, you'd think that after I'd highlight it so many times that I'd actually be able to color in the line. So this is, I mean, you know, I will obviously sometimes do my eyes, but like I pretty much will just kind of fill it in with something, maybe add some shimmer, I'll do a little bit of an outline. And that's kind of like a day-to-day. We love the Batman theory. And the Batman, he's putting on a mask, he's putting on a character. And that's what I did when I made that decision of I don't want to be in this space of not enjoying who I am and what I look like. But that confidence didn't come overnight. But I did fake it. I faked it. I faked it until I actually started to believe it. I think the fact that like you get to see my difference highlighted to whatever your assumption is of that, it's like, I'm definitely going to stand out in your day.
There was another person in the beauty industry that I knew was fairly new to LA, Tonya. She was joined by Mandy from Face Forward International, who now have a home in LA where survivors of burns and other facial differences can recover after receiving a fully funded surgery from the charity.
Because you're getting ideas from what? Have you ever seen someone with a fully burned face? Probably not, because I had never run into anyone at the time that I got burned. Oh, I actually started posting because I wanted to tell my Facebook friends what had happened to me. I disappeared like for 2 years. I didn't post. Only a couple of people knew what had happened. And COVID happened also, so I guess nobody was missing me. So I made a video. And I didn't know how to make a video, but I made a YouTube, and I was in my hair and makeup, right, that I just started doing again. I just bought my first wig. I didn't know how to, anyway, I'd never worn a wig before. And I posted, and I had no idea that people other than my friends could see it, like on YouTube. I didn't understand how social media worked. But I started getting messages from people that were like, oh, I have a difference, and I love your makeup, I love your hair, how do you do that? It looks so nice, you know, and just that, and all of a sudden it clicked. I decided that I would post every day. I was going to do my makeup anyway for myself. And this is at a time when you didn't make videos. It was still a photo platform on Instagram. And I would just do my makeup every day, and then I would take pictures.
We started housing multiple survivors together at a time, where they were in an apartment. We'd gone from like 2 neighboring 2-bedroom apartments that we were renting. Then a couple of years or so later, we found the same property manager. She had 2 homes on the same lot. So we're splitting these 2 Airbnb properties. So, we had 2 male, a survivor and his advocate with him in the back home. And then we had 4 or 5 of their patients in the front house. So we could see the benefit. And there's this bonding and healing that happens. And I think Tonya has been one of those who's really been able to experience that, because she's stayed with the most diverse number of survivors.
Nobody that will ever understand you like another survivor, ever. Not a therapist, not a doctor, not a family member, even if they're there for never the way. Pardon me, that's not a tear. Not yet.
When you've come from a place and in your own home, your own communities, wherever, villages, whatever, that aren't supporting you and aren't giving you that sort of unconditional love feel, it's a big deal. And I didn't realize that impact I'd say until the past few years, and we had Thanksgiving here together and Christmas together and all of those things. And it was like to hear survivors say things to me of the personal impact that, I don't want to get emotional.
I know. Sometimes it'll hit you, right? It'll like hit you right there.
I was remembering baby chef Rebecca sitting here
talking,
like crying and saying, and she calls me mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just to feel the difference that you've made in somebody's life, and to know that it's like, it's genuinely appreciated more than you could ever imagine. And we have several patients who, they're fearful for their lives to return to their own countries. So we've connected them with advocate resources and things that help them, seek asylum here. And I think we've had 3 now four who are now, green card carriers here in the U.S. and are safe within our borders and thriving. One of our the first acid attack survivor we ever worked with, she graduated from Pittsburgh University. She has her own nonprofit in Uganda. She's got an organization, she works with an organization here in the States, Hanifa. Yeah. And she was the first. And so it's like, and then her network through her organization refer patients over to us when the need is there. And it's like, we just keep this, not say keep it in the family, but it's like the flow of, building your relationships and growing and, supporting each other through the process.
Because I don't know any other organization that does reconstructive surgery for survivors, because in the United States, there's a cutoff with your insurance companies or whatever. There's a point in which they say, oh, it's only aesthetic. And then you wonder, like, well, I didn't have nostrils. And you wonder, like, would the insurance company would you think if your nose was lost, would you think it's only aesthetic? One of the phrases that I just cannot stand from the hospital, particularly in the burn unit, is, okay, well, now you're a burn survivor. This is your new normal. What is that? And at first I would be like, okay, that's my new normal. That's my new normal. And in your head, what does that mean? Does that mean it never gets better? Does that mean, that's it for you? Just get used to it? What does that mean? And that is what they're saying. They're saying, oh, it's only going to get so much better. And I challenge that. For me, I would get up and do my makeup. And absolutely nowhere to go, nobody to see it. I would get up and do my makeup. I still do it. Times when you see me on Instagram or whatever, the visual of it was just me doing makeup to make me feel better. I remember finding this blue eyeshadow in my grandma's closet. My grandmother raised me. That hideous blue eyeshadow from the 70s. I found that blue eyeshadow and I played with it. Yeah. And it felt like transformation, and it is just as much as going to get your hair done or exercising and changing your body. It's the same. It's not frivolous either. A lot of times makeup gets lumped into the same category as like having cosmetic surgeries or corrective surgeries, where it's just cosmetic, and it's not. I will look you dead in the eye when I've got my makeup on. I'll stand up a little bit straighter. When I don't, and that's before this, I'm a lot better now about going out without makeup. I do it a lot now, and I would not have been caught. I can't say dead, but I would not have been caught out in public without.
Be covered with sunglasses.
I would be covered, right? I would be like a diva. So I'm really, I do love makeup, and I think it is as important as grooming. It's self-care. Our best life, it takes a lot of work. But it takes a lot of work for anyone to live their best life. People aren't any different than you because of how they look, and you're taking your opinion of someone in real life from a movie or a show that's not real life. So, match that up in your mind, and it starts very early. So it's a lot. I always say the Lion King, the villain is Scar. Why does he have a scar? He has a horrible character, right? But he doesn't need a scar. He doesn't need to be named that in order to be the bad guy. But particularly Hollywood does that. As soon as I'm watching a movie and a person who looks like me enters the frame, then I know that's the villain. But they actually put out a casting call for, are you tall with extremely long limbs? Do your ears stick out? Do you have a big nose? Do your eyes bulge? You can be in the movie. Yeah, of course, they got devoured by the facial difference community. It was crazy. It was like, what? Right? Right? What are you saying? And if that is what you need for your fictional character, then there's special effects makeup.
Right. They create these shows and these contents around people with differences, but what they've not perfected is not making it so that it's purely highlighting the difference.
Right.
It's like little people, big world. Like they come up with these things, and then it becomes again a mockery in a sense. It's making it humorous, where people laugh at versus getting down to, and it's not even necessarily the shows, because the shows, they put the content, they give you the real moments, they give you the interview. And I don't watch all of these things, but what they give you in an Instagram preview or a commercial, it's they're pitching the entertainment and the drama versus the people and who they are. They're trying, but not getting it right because they don't know how to navigate it that makes everybody else feel comfortable, and that's part of the problem.
And the problem
it's not
is
meant
they don't
to
need
make
to
you
feel
comfortable. It's meant to just show you that this is just real life.
Just begin that. I hope to see a change in my lifetime where people are just included, where you can go on a casting call with a facial difference and be cast as the leading lady. This is a good place for me to be right now at any rate, but it's also an influential place to be. I want to help other survivors. I do makeup, so I'm trying to go to survivors, go to burn units and domestic violence shelters, because that's where my worlds meet, right? Speak to them and do makeup as a donated service, at the same time taking donations for Face For It International, and that builds my presence in social media, because I create YouTube, so I can support myself from that. I don't need to take any more, but as that grows, it also builds my influence in the beauty industry. And that's where I want to be. I want to be at all the beauty events. TikTok kept taking my content down, and it wasn't bloody. It was just my face without makeup. And maybe it was from like a few years before, but it wasn't bloody. It was just my face, just my regular skin. And it kept being marked as violent and graphic content. And then one day, but you could appeal it, right? Because it was the AI doing it, then a human would look. And it happened like 5 times. The first 4 times, the human on the appeal was like, oh yeah, put the video back up. On the last one, the human did not. And they sent the message, content has been removed permanently, cannot be restored, violent graphic content. You get 1 strike, because they give you violation points. I put the video back up, and I superimposed like a whole words about what they had done. Well, then TikTok suppressed me. And I started doing live streams like a month later. I was in the top 0.01% of live streamers on TikTok. Like, we're hitting heavy, we're making money. There's like 15,000 people in the room. Like, look at that, because I always start my live stream with no makeup, no wig. Let's like start it, here I am, let's do my makeup. And then I came in number 6 in beauty and fashion in Live Fest. It was because it was led by the viewers' votes. I go live and say, look, if you want me to, we're competing for beauty and fashion, boom, and they're voting. I came in number 6, and that was my first red carpet. I decided to come because it was important to be on the red carpet with the facial difference, competing in beauty and fashion. That's the only reason I came, was to be on that carpet and be like, we're not leaving. We're in Hollywood, and we're not here as villains. We're not here for sympathy. We're here as beauty freaking queen, Yeah. And most of the people who insult us and our facial differences particularly on social media, because they think they're like the social media police. Like, why would you, well, if you don't want to be insulted, then why would you post this? Like, what, me doing makeup, living my life? But what they're saying is you're not good enough. But those same people who say that would never, ever post their face. And, you know, facial difference is just a different category. I say to Mandy all the time, you know, if you see a person in public who's missing a leg, nobody walks up to them and asks them why they're missing a leg. If you see me and you talk to me for a minute, they'll say, I'm sorry, this could be, do you mind what happened? Tell me what happened. I have a friend with the Phoenix Society who has a facial, fully replaced face, and she told me when people walk up and just ask you, I'm sorry, can you tell me what happened? Do you mind telling me what happened? Just tell them, hey, well, if you'll introduce yourself, tell me your name, and relive one of your traumas for me, then I'll go next. Then I'll tell you, because they don't realize your curiosity does not trump
can be triggering.
My privacy, my life. You know, I'm not here in public to explain what happened. What does it take to change that knee-jerk reaction, and that is more representation in media, in Hollywood, in social media, and on the pages of Vogue, everywhere. That's why it has to change, because representation matters not just to us, but to the way society views us and treats us. So everything we're doing, making documentaries, continuing to show up, you know, that's what you do, and that's what I would tell any survivor. It's not easy, though, in the beginning. It's not easy anytime, but it's particularly hard in the beginning to just to deal with the stigma of the facial difference. You could deal with not having a leg much more, because there's going to be less social scrutiny of it. They'll just go, oh, must have had an accident. Must have, you know, and that's not always true. There's certain instances where, with like birth defects, people do ask. You know, they do feel the right to know, like, well, you were that way, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Whatever it is you do that makes you happy, that's your business. And if people would stop being so judgmental about that, maybe they could stop being so judgmental about people who look different. I think there seems to be sort of an epidemic of judgment, and people feeling like it's okay, because the first thing someone will say after they clearly insult you on social media, after a clear backhanded insult, you know, like a backhanded compliment, is what? Well, I was just being honest. Because people will say, oh, don't let it define you. But then they try to define us by it. So we have to make a change.
Like, you treat people the way that you view yourself. Like, if there was ever a time that, like, I treated somebody poorly or negatively, there was something going on with me internally that wasn't right.
It's because I think it's a lack of understanding, lack of education too as well.
I invite them to think about this person as somebody that they love.
What is it that you expect, and why do you expect that? You know, the problem, if you come across that and you look at someone just living their life, smiling, laughing, walking along, and they look different than you, then
it's a lack of understanding and knowing. It's a lack of being aware that we're marginalized.
You know, whether it's an adult or a child, learn to deal now with the physical difference and help them recognize that this physical difference doesn't define them as a human being, but it's something that's happened to them. My name is Cindy Rudder, and I'm a burn-injured child that is now an adult. I volunteer with the Phoenix Society, Elisa Andrews Burn Foundation, the San Diego Burn Institute, and the MSKTC organization. Well, I was a nurse for many, many years first and worked primarily in the burn unit, and then realized that burn injuries go beyond the physical healing into the emotional and psychological well-being. So I decided to go back to school and become a psychotherapist. Burns have always been not a job, but a passion. I myself was burn injured as a child in a house fire. And I think, obviously, that led me to my nursing career and now into psychotherapy. Actually facilitate the retreats for young adults and adult burn survivors. And they are primarily focused around the psychological healing, the emotional healing from a burn injury, and how we go about moving on with our lives and recognizing that the burn injury doesn't have to stop you from having a very happy, productive life. Our camps are a true testament to, children growing up in the camp system, becoming counselors, giving back to the community, and speaking to how it impacted their lives, to the adults that have come to retreats and saying, this changed my life and how I look at my burn injury. I mean, even as a psychotherapist, I say, I like to believe that I help people in their journey through their burn recovery, but the idea of peer support is huge. It makes that community, it's a family. It's not just a community. And I think even with children, I think that fear of being rejected by other people. And when you are in this community and you're surrounded with other people with a like experience, that fear of rejection goes away. You are accepted for who you are in spite of whatever the physical difference is. The transformation and the personal growth within that 3 or 4 days is immense. I love hearing about when people either connect at World Burn or they connect at a retreat, and they may not be from the same area, but then they stay in touch. And then when they come back together, they will say it's like a family reunion. They're getting back together, but they stay in touch throughout the year. And of course, now with social media, you can stay in touch with people. Social media can have a really positive impact in regards to them seeing other people, hearing other people that are on that platform and trying to make a difference. And then the flip side of that is because social media can be devastating in some ways, that it can have a negative impact as well. We talk about social media a lot in regards to, how people feel about it. And I know that I've heard, as far as social media depicting people in a perfect image, right? And anybody that's got a physical difference, in regards to their skin, is not considered perfect, if you will, on social media. So from that aspect, you have to really make sure that somebody understands, to not let that impact you. Yet that can be a really hard thing when you see it on a repetitive basis, right? You see it over and over again, and so it can knock you down. The best friend in any of this is being educated and understanding that we live in a very look-oriented society, that anybody that has a little bit of a physical difference is going to be viewed by a lot of people as less than. And so how do we teach people to have confidence, to believe in themselves? I always tell people, don't give your power away. Do not give your power away to people that don't have any understanding of what it is like to have a physical difference. In the burn community, we not only reference the patient that's endured the physical burn, but the family member as a survivor, because they have also gone through it in a different way. We have, significant other support groups, because, the whole dynamics, if you're in a relationship, can completely change. You go from being the lover, the partner, to the caregiver. It doesn't have to be just a burn, right? As you just said, like with acne, vitiligo, eczema, all of those things, because depending on the headspace of the individual that's dealing with that physical difference, then it does impact the people around you. Actually, my daughters don't like it when people stare when I'm in shorts or short sleeves, and it bothers them actually more than it bothers me. But if it does bother me, and if I happen to say something, then it impacts them almost more, right? That if it is bothering me, then it's even more of a struggle for them. It's funny when we talk about the caregiver wanting to take care of the survivor. I think a lot of survivors also want to be okay to take care of the caregiver, right? So that if I'm okay, they're okay. One thing with the kids, when we're doing school reentry, we try to teach young children that although their friend that's coming back to school may physically look different, they're still that same person inside. So we take a sugar packet and we crumble it up, and the packet on the outside is very wrinkled and crumpled, and we'll ask them what is still in this packet, and it's sugar. Hear the adage of, well, you're still beautiful on the inside, but people want to feel beautiful on the outside too, no matter what. You don't want to just hear that you're beautiful on the inside. You do want to also feel like you're attractive on the outside. For me, I like to know that I feel good in the clothes that I'm wearing.
Very stylish.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I just try to take pride in who I am as a woman and recognize that this burn injury doesn't define me. It's something that I've experienced in life. I mean, I wouldn't have chosen it by any means, but it doesn't have to define who I am. And I feel like my confidence a lot of times doesn't just come from my physical appearance, although I feel like I take good care of myself. A lot of my confidence also comes from other accomplishments in my life. Being a mom was probably one of my biggest achievements in life. And being a grandma, that to me is the end all be all. But I would say, just my accomplishment of becoming a nurse. And first of all, being told I'd never be able to because I didn't do well in high school. So it was like, you'll never be able to be a nurse. And then I think going back to school and getting my master's degree and just looking at yourself, posting it on the mirror if you need to, so that you remind yourself. Mine that I say to a lot of burn survivors is that my burn injury doesn't define who I am, and to love yourself for all that it is and all that it's not. Because we can't grow if we don't recognize what we're not as well as what we are. You have to do the work to reap the benefits, right? You have to take that risk, because if you don't take a risk, you're gonna stay stuck. But I had phenomenal parents that pushed me. I didn't like it at the time, but said, no, you're gonna do this, and no, you can do this, and like I said at the time, I didn't maybe like it. You're gonna go swimming, or you're gonna put on shorts, and I didn't want to. But they were like, no, you are still okay with who you are. As a parent, when they were younger, I would imagine that was very hard for my parents to push me, right? To make me do things that maybe, was uncomfortable for me, but they still pushed, and I'm glad they did. Honest with you, I think for myself, growing up was not as brutal as it is now. And I think people hide behind social media when you talk about social media, right? So now people can hide behind that. They can say whatever they want to someone, and it makes it worse. And I think even out in public, people are much more almost brazen, if that makes sense. Be kind in your response, because the minute you give them your power and you get angry or you lash out at them, they've won. They've made you different, right? Whereas if you'll just take a breath, take the time, if you want to explain it, or at least respond, I really prefer not to talk about it. rather than getting angry. Because then it's like, oh yeah, they are weird. Those people with physical differences are weird. There is no perfect in this world, right? And to me, there is no normal. We all are different. And I just think if we will stand tall and make people aware that we're not going away just because we have a difference, that we have as much right as anybody else does in this world. Life is so short, and we don't know, from moment to moment. My passion is that, you love your life and you enjoy it for what it is and make it the best that you can.
For some reason, the song Wrecking Ball keeps going through my head. If you come in like a wrecking ball, if you come in scolding people and telling people how horrible they are, you're not going to get anywhere.
Nicole was one of those special people I managed to connect to. She is unbelievably modest about the things she does for the disability community in Hollywood. She worked with Paige on a series of videos repositioning those with disabilities. In her lap, you'll spot her elderly dog, who was just happy to lie in the sun.
But perception is reality in this work. So if they're going to be marginalized, which they are, for having a facial difference, then we need to take them into our community and say, this is how the industry is looking at you, so this is where the fight's going to come from. Oh, wow. Okay, who am I? Well, I'm a woman that was, no, I'm kidding. My name is Nicole Cyril. I'm an actor and writer based in Los Angeles. So at SAG-AFTRA, I serve on a lot of committees, but the main focus that I have normally is performers with disabilities. I'm one of the chairs of the National Committee and the chair of the Los Angeles Committee for performers with disabilities, known as PWDs. There's a line in our community, it's crass for us, and it's play a GIMP, get an Oscar. Not be a disabled person on screen playing a character. Be a non-disabled person, play a disabled person, and you'll win an Oscar for it. There are different schools of thought, right? There are those who say, never, ever, ever, if you're not disabled, you can never play a disabled person. Actors should be able to play whatever they can believably play. But right now, when disabled actors are so incredibly marginalized and have been for decades, say, if you're not disabled, don't play a disabled role. But when we are treated as equals in this industry, actors should be able to play whatever they can play. First of all, we don't get a lot of auditions as disabled actors. I got an audition for a commercial. Commercials are a lot of improv. It's an improvisational commercial thing. So I go there, and the first thing is, oh, I'm sorry, we had so many callbacks that your session is actually up the stairs. Okay, it's not great. I'll have to pull myself up the stairs. It was a rainy day in Los Angeles. Rare, but they do happen. And the stairs were outside. So I have to pull myself up the stairs on a rainy day. But I don't say anything because I'll deal with that later. But at the audition, if I do that, that marginalizes me. So I get upstairs, they take 3 of us at a time. And what we're doing for the audition is one of us will be what's called the reader. And then the other one's the person auditioning. And we just kind of bounced for each other because we're doing improv. So we're improvising for the other actor to help make them look good. I'm the last actor to audition, but I had helped improvise. The actors that were auditioning were told, come from the doorway, step onto the carpet, walk toward the reader, right? When it becomes my turn, Nicole, you can just start from the carpet. No, I'm good. Everybody, but you can just start from the carpet. I'm like, because you mentioned the carpet was trippable, which again was mentioned probably because I was there with a cane. And I said, no, I'm good. I'll do the scene the way everybody else did. In that moment, we know as disabled actors, I'm likely not even going to be considered because they've already put themselves in the mindset of, I'm a challenge. I didn't say a word about the steps, but the minute I walked in, it was, oh, sorry, you're upstairs. I didn't say a word about the carpet, but it was immediately, you don't have to do that. It wouldn't matter how good my improv or my audition was, I was already looked at as problematic. We get told a lot when we're promoting as actors to include us, they'll say, it's not on the page. The writers have to put it on the page. The writers aren't in the room either. They don't hire disabled writers. When you have shows that have disabled characters, and they're few and far between, but they don't have a disabled writer, what are you doing? Shondaland was just, I work on a Shonda show, right? So a Shondaland show, Grey's Anatomy, when it first started, her first show, everybody was so impressed with the ethnic diversity, the racial diversity on the show. And you'll hear the stories about how characters weren't meant to be a specific race and they just auditioned actors and took the person that fit the best. We don't do that with disability. We see it as if it's not written as disabled, it can't be disabled. What is the granted, somebody like me, I'm not going to play a marathon runner. But pretty much most every other role, I'm fine. Shoot, I teach yoga. So, I mean, it's like, I surf. So there's a lot of things that we're just marginalized for. And think outside the box and know that if it's not written as disabled, it can still be disabled. That's what happens with life, right? The more you become aware of something, the more you're opened up to something, the more interesting it becomes and the more normal it becomes. When you look at the fact that 1 in 4 people are disabled, that's 25% of people. And hear me when I say I'm not looking for a quota. I'm not trying to say, so then 25% of all characters need to be disabled. No, but more than 2% need to be. So we've actually dropped. We were at 3% inclusion. We're now down to 2%. But what makes that worse, and it took 20 years to get from 2 to 3, by the way, we've backpedaled. What makes that worse is approximately, last I was told the numbers, 98% of those are played by non-disabled actors.
So 2% of the 2%.
Yep.
Are disabled actors.
And it's hard because I don't want to throw actors under the bus, right? Because then we'll have more disabled actors and they won't get work either. No, that's not what I meant. Anyway, somebody actually said that to me. They thought that our intention is, so when her character gets disabled, they have to change actors. I'm like, why? That's ridiculous. So I think there's just a perception that needs to be fixed from how difficult we are to have on set, which, hint, we're not, to what our actual desires are. And that's just to be included. That's it. My role on Shondaland is audio description voiceover artist, which is a whole nother situation of not respected in our industry. So I do my work in post and I'm not on the set, I'm in my closet. We have a situation where our industry doesn't respect it. They think of it like captions. And no offense to captions, but they're literally just taking the words you hear and typing them out. We're performing. There is a writer who writes our script. So what our purpose is those things that you can't know if you're just hearing the show. And for some reason, I've never forgotten this line. On Grey's Anatomy, I had to say, in slow motion, Dr. Hayes rushes into Farouk's OR. If you don't know that, if you can't hear me and you just hear sound, music, how do you know what's happening? And Shondaland does a lot of music montages, so without audio description, you're lost. When you talk about the Emmys, the Tonys, I haven't done the Emmys, but the Tonys, the Grammys, the SAG Awards, BET, all of those award shows or anything live, I do the Bachelorette finale, anything live, there's no script. So we have to be able to see our moment, come up with the most important thing to say in as few words as possible, because if somebody does start talking, we have to finish our sentence and get out. So the example I use, and this did not happen, it is not true. What should I say? Should I say Meryl wears a white glittery pantsuit with feathered cuffs? Or should I say Brad Pitt carries her over his left shoulder? What do you want to know? Right. What we do in the committees is we all have our own mission statement, our own committee. So ours is to create more awareness and to educate the industry that our existence is vital to the industry and that we can be included and that we're not a challenge. So that's part of our mission statement. We had come up with this idea to do these little vignettes. And our committee got together and they wrote them and we cast them, produced them, and we got actors that are known, that'll make you, as we call it, stop the scroll, that basically were huge on social media. So Jerry picks up a bag and an actor in a wheelchair says, "That was amazing, the way you put that," because that's the real life of a disabled person. We just flipped the script of who was doing it. So we wanted to show that, like, we're not your inspiration. We do things like that. We're getting ready to hold a panel. We work with the WGA and the DGA with their disability committees to enlighten the industry. It's just my personality to always find the humor and the joke just in life, regardless of the disability conversation, regardless of the treating us like we don't exist conversation. It's just who I am. Because a lot of times when I meet an actor who has been in that situation, they now become a huge ally. And they're like, what do I do to help? Well, if you have enough power to do that, put us in the room. And that's what I always ask people. I never, when I meet producers, directors, writers, number ones on the call sheet, I don't say, can I have your phone number? Can we get together? Can we talk about this? That's not my purpose. I say, hey, here's the story. Here's the situation. You have power in the room. Put us in the room. Please put us in the room. I spoke to a lead actor who's also a brilliant writer, and he was kind of a jerk. He was kind of a big jerk. But a friend of mine just did a movie with him. And I was talking to her, I was like, oh, yeah, I had a rough interaction with him. And she said, I'm sorry, but whatever you said worked because this person who's disabled is in this movie. And I've never seen that gentleman work with a disabled actor in anything he's ever done. So my friend is convinced, not having had a conversation with him about it, but she's convinced that even though he wasn't kind to me, he heard it. And I don't care if he likes me, and I don't care if we're friends. I care that he heard it and a disabled actor got work, because that moves the needle and that excites me. There's a lot of insecurity in actors, in a lot of people, but like we carry a lot. And I had to do a thing that I was very nervous to do. So I called a friend of mine, Michelle Hurd, brilliant actor, better human. And I was like, Michelle. And she said, you don't need me. Look at what you've done. And she starts listing things that I've done to help people. And I was just like, wow, I needed that. That's community. And it's not that she's telling me good things that I did, it's that she's being supportive of me in this circle. So as we're all lifting each other up, sign language, it's this, support. When you have a community, when you feel like you belong somewhere, it just fills holes you didn't realize you had until you filled them. I could not believe that I was invited to the White House last September for Disability Pride at President Biden's White House. And I was like, I've never been here before, I'll never be here again, this is amazing. And people were like, you'll be there again. And then the election happened. I was like, no, I won't. What the DEI problem means to me daily is what fight do I need to be focusing on? Because those of us that are advocates, those of us that stand up and scream no matter what target it puts on our backs, we just have to. Because if we curl up in a hole and then whatever they means, they win. And they will not tell us we don't matter. They will not tell us we don't belong. They will not tell us that we are not equal. They will not tell us that we are not powerful. We can move mountains. We can do anything. I may not, but we can. It also does what all bad things do. It shows you where the lights are.
One of the main themes of my travels was definitely the sense of community, and I found it in every step of my trip, but particularly in LA when I met Katie Haber. She's a well-regarded filmmaker who produced Blade Runner and worked closely with Sam Peckinpah, but we had so much more in common than you might expect. Her dad was an extraordinary dermatologist specialising in venereal diseases. His work in alopecia Minnesota transcends time, and it just so happened that I was going to his birth country, the beautiful Prague, to attend the European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology conference. It just felt like fate.
I'm Ayberk. I'm working as a dermatologist in Istanbul, and my clinic is specifically working on psychodermatology. For example, we have a psychologist who's working 5 days. Wow. Yeah, and therefore we are really interested as the clinic.
Yeah, so what kind of patients come to them with psoriasis? Do you think they're really impacted by their psoriasis and how they feel about themselves?
They are generally stigmatized, and when they come, they think that it's just their misery, and there is no other option for them, and they will suffer forever, and there is no treatment. And when they come to us, we speak with them, and we say that there are some other options, there are something we can do. They say that they don't believe. Sometimes they just go outside, they refuse the therapy, but with time, with the advancements, they got much better. And sometimes we refer them to psychiatry, sometimes to our psychologists. Sometimes we internalize them as we see them. They are struggling not just by the skin condition, but also the psychiatric condition. I think it's a vicious cycle. It's bidirectional, because when the skin diseases go up, and the psychiatry went down, and when psychiatry went down, the skin lesions go up. We should just intervene this vicious cycle in a way. I think it's really complex because some of these people are married, and especially I'm talking on the psoriasis, they have scalings, and these scales are fell to the home and every sofa to the bed, and they feel like guilty. And like being a chef in a restaurant, and they say that I have psoriasis on my hands, you should intervene it because I can't go on like this. They plan to quit me up and fire me maybe. And their suffer is much more bigger but unseen. I think with the AI, actually I focused on the AI-based generation, image generation. So for some of the diseases, we don't have that much examples, and dermatologists are just not seeing them quite often. And with the AI image generation, we can also make these diseases seemable, and maybe it makes and show them more demonstrative photos of them, and we can make an awareness for the dermatologists. I think first they should find a good clinician, not just curing their skin, also curing their soul, curing their heart. And when they have that strong relation, it would also cure the physician him or herself. Because when I do something good, when I talk with them, when I get into their life and speak more, it's just also curing
I found
my
our
soul,
American
and
dermatologist
it
comments
motivates
particularly
me.
interesting.
It's fantastic
after
to
what
hear that
everybody had said in the US
psychodermatology
about
is
their
such a growing
experiences.
area.
However, the next dermatologist I can't say I particularly agreed with. But what the EADV showed me is that people care. Whichever viewpoint they take, they want to support and uplift their community.
I'm Brett King. I'm a dermatologist in the USA in Connecticut, and we are here at the Spring EADV in Prague.
I found our American dermatologist comments particularly interesting after what everybody had said in the US about their experiences.
Was here to speak in a symposium about inflammatory skin disease. In particular, I was speaking about JAK inhibitors for the treatment of vitiligo and alopecia areata. Vitiligo, alopecia areata are super visible diseases, and so these are disorders that kind of profoundly alter life and sort of the life trajectory for people, because you go from normal to all of a sudden being recognized by everybody around you as being sick, either as suffering from cancer because you have no hair or because you have very spotted hair loss, to having some sort of severe skin infection because you have white patches. These are disorders that cause, sort of profound kind of negative impact on the life course, and unfortunately I think too often are dismissed. They're just white spots, or they're just white spots and we don't have anything very good. It's just hair, and boy, you've got a beautifully shaped head, and so just, go rock it. And, that's not why we became doctors, right?
Treatment sounds, I've never had anything quite like it, the JAK inhibitors. It sounds like something to me from a non-dermatological background, like something out of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So JAK inhibitors are a really interesting class of medicines. They're relatively early in their life cycle in all of medicine. They were just born in 2011 for the treatment of certain blood disorders. Both alopecia areata and vitiligo have somewhat similar sort of mechanisms of disease. One affects pigment cells in the skin, or the color cells in the skin, and leads to white spots. The other leads to patches of hair loss. But the mechanisms driving those two different events in the skin are shared, or have a shared pathway called interferon gamma. We all look in the mirror and sort of see ourselves, and when that changes profoundly, when we lose our eyebrows, when we lose the hair on our head that frames our face and really gives us identity, that's hard. When we develop spots, white spots, that's hard because we don't look like ourselves anymore. And so there are two parts of it. It's that you don't look like yourself, and that's hard. But then the other part is what I already mentioned earlier, and that is that other people think that you're sick, that you have an infection. It's a problem within, and then it's a problem of the interaction of the world with you. For 9 days leading up until yesterday, I was in China giving talks all around China, and one could argue that, you know, one might imagine that culturally life is different in China than it is in other places, say for sure the US. And so, you know, how do we relate the same or differently to these diseases? I learned people in China have the same response, the same profound negative impact on the life course suffering from alopecia areata or vitiligo as my experiences with, you know, my patients at home. So you don't even have, you're not always confronted with being different, but it's this episodic thing that I think plays with our psychology differently than the person who's faced with it every single day. This is what we know. This is the way I think the data sort of informs your chances of success. But I think we should try, no matter what, and we try hard, and we push as hard as we can. But then the times that we succeed, we celebrate. You know, have the privilege of taking care of people, and it's paramount that with that privilege we undertake treatment of everyone to make them better, or to try to make them better. Because again, if we don't do that, then we fail to do the very thing that we undertook. Find a doctor who cares, find a doctor who will reach for new therapies, who will be inventive, creative. Don't give up, always keeping in the front of your mind that we took upon ourselves to take care of people. And it's, you know, it's utterly scary, but it's also like, you know, just the greatest gift in the world. There's like unlimited possibility in the world that we live in today. Like the marriage of science with medicine has afforded us extraordinary opportunity to do things that were unimaginable just a decade ago.
To say this documentary has been life-changing is an understatement. I've got a renewed sense of hope, of purpose and determination, and I've been completely bowled over by the sense of community. There is so much work to be done, and I hope you'll join me on the fight.
I wish and hope that everyone can feel the importance of stepping out and sharing their story. It doesn't matter what their story is. It's a story worth telling. And I hope that those in that 1 to 5 category can believe that, because they have something to offer.
A little bit hard for me, I think, to like own, but I realize the more and more I just get to know myself, understand that I think I have a good energy about me, and I think just because of so much things I've been through in my life, and, you know, obviously growing up with a visible difference, and just, you know, you learn to develop a tough exterior, and I'm very grateful that instead of, I don't know, maybe just like retreating and just like kind of being mad that this happened, I learned to develop a pretty like positive, outgoing, I think like infectious kind of energy where I try to find the best in a lot of things.
I will do anything to support and encourage and love on my friends.
Loving me, owning my beauty.
My voice.
Would be my mindset.
Really my birthmark. It's the one thing that makes me who I am. Everybody knows me.
I really feel like I'm 125% New Yorker.
I feel like I've become resilient.
My ambition, yeah.
My energy and the love that I just give people, because I'm so full of it, and because of my visible difference, I learned how to love people.
My tenacity and zest for life.
Determination. No, I'm going to change it. Resilience, because that encompasses determination.
My love for people.
This project's called 1 in 5 because 1 in 5 people in the UK have a facial difference. So can I ask you, what's one thing that makes you who you are? Oh, I'm sorry.
it all comes around to it's an unbelievable privilege to be a doctor. And it's an unbelievable privilege to be able to take care of people.